Welcome back to the Toolbox, Episode 2. How to Rebuild Trust After Gambling Broke My Family. This is an educational series built to share calm strategies for fathers working through separation, co-parenting, and personal recovery. It does not provide gambling advice, legal advice, medical advice, or mental health advice. Adapt any principle or tool responsibly to your own situation. If life feels stressful, seek licensed professional support in your area. The purpose of this series is awareness, discipline, and self-control, not a replacement for help. Guys, are you aware that rebuilding trust isn't always about being forgiven? I know some of you are, but for those who are not, it's about becoming available and reliable again. But for that to happen, certain things are required, like hard work, discipline, routine, consistency, accountability, and effort. In this space, we take calm steps, make real change, and concentrate on rebuilding dads. No revenge talk, just rebuilding. Fellas, I've been unfortunate enough to witness what happens when a father loses control, particularly when it comes to gambling. This happened quite a while ago. I worked with a man who many would say lit up the room with his presence. He was funny, generous, and always quick to help. The kind of person you were glad to work with no matter how rough your day was. If something was on your mind and you needed a shoulder or someone to talk to, he was the guy that would sit and speak with you for the whole of his lunch break. Always smiling, always gave positive energy. A genuinely good-hearted, happy-go-lucky man and a pleasure to work with. One day he didn't come to work. He called in sick that day and took the rest of the week off too. He rang me on Thursday, said he recently got divorced about a month ago and was in a very bad place mentally. I asked him what happened. He said he had been secretly gambling long before the marriage ended. He hid his addiction for 6 months and didn't even realize how deep he had fallen. Eventually the lies, the hidden debt, and the shame destroyed his family. Once his wife found out, his life collapsed instantly. That's when reality truly hit him on his head. One day, he was a daily dad. The next, he said he felt like an outsider looking in, and there was no one else to blame but himself. The silence of living alone, without his kids, without the noise of family life, hit him harder than he could admit. But he did admit it. He was still gambling, but wasn't gambling to win money anymore. He was gambling to escape, to numb the stress, the anxiety, and the emptiness that followed losing everything he once took for granted. He was honest enough to admit that every loss deepened the hole he was trying to fill. When we talked, he sounded like he'd given up. I had to remind him that his value to his kids hadn't disappeared. It was still there. He just couldn't see it through the shame. His confidence was gone. He felt like he had no purpose left in life. Eventually, he reached out for help, and I helped him to get started. It took time for him to fully commit, but after about 11 months of cognitive behavioral therapy along with my men's group, slowly he began to rebuild and structure returned. He learned to be consistent again, doing the little things every day. Even on the hard days, he still showed up for himself. After about a year and 11 months, he was back on his feet. Still humble, but steady. His ex-wife had taken notice of his progress and she began to trust him again. His kids started seeing him once a week, which was massive progress at the time. Soon he had daily phone contact with his kids, and over time, step by step, he rebuilt his life. That's where his story ended, back on solid ground. But the real lesson was simple. His kids saw the change before they ever heard an apology. Because sometimes, an apology isn't enough. People need to see the change to believe it. That's how you rebuild trust, not from long promises or excuses. It grows by providing consistent proof and showing up over and over again. If you're trying to rebuild trust, you must remember this. Trust doesn't return when you say sorry. Trust returns when you become reliable again. Now, here are 10 tools anyone can use today. Tool 1. The Weekly Money Snapshot. Financial transparency. Why this works. Trust debt from gambling isn't just about the money you lost. It's the broken consistency, the hidden behavior, and the unpredictability that destroys confidence and trust. When you hide the betting slips and drain the accounts, you don't just lose money, you break your family's sense of trust and safety. The weekly money snapshot takes all the talk and emotion out of it and replaces it with straight proof. Every week, you show exactly where the money went. No guessing, no explaining, just hard evidence. Research on trust repair makes this clear. Transparency, something people can verify with their own eyes, repairs trust far faster than apologies or promises. A nervous system will not relax until the threat becomes predictable again. For children, seeing their dad handle money calmly and openly teaches them something simple. Dad's behavior has changed, and I can see the proof. Trust repair research on developing and maintaining trust in relationships showing observable, consistent behavior rebuilds trust faster than verbal reassurance alone. Behavioral economics and addiction research shows that external accountability structures reduce relapse and improve self-regulation. Attachment research indicates that predictability and routines reduce hypervigilance and restore felt safety in partners and children following relational rupture. How to apply it? Every Sunday evening, put together a one-page breakdown of the week's finances: income, essential expenses, rent, food, utilities, child support, and what's left. Use whatever format that keeps you consistent: a handwritten page, a notes app, a simple spreadsheet. The layout doesn't matter. The honesty does. Send it to your co-parent through email or the co-parenting app with a neutral subject line. Month of January, money snapshot. The message stays clean. This week's snapshot attached. Child support, £200 sent on the 1st of January. Next snapshot on Sunday. No extra paragraphs, no emotional commentary, just data. Let the pattern speak for itself. Keep all snapshots stored in a folder so you build a clear trail, 52 weeks of proof. If your children ever ask, "How do we know you're not gambling anymore, Dad?" Never get angry, simply show the record. Be mindful. Do not skip weeks because you're tired, embarrassed, or think, "This isn't working anyway." Trust is built in the rhythm, not the highlight moments. One missed week triggers doubt immediately. Never use the snapshot as emotional leverage. "Look how responsible I'm being. Why won't you trust me yet?" That destroys the point of the tool. And finally, never hide when you slip up. If you gamble, write it down plainly. "I lost 20 pounds in the betting shop on Thursday, but I attended a gambling anonymous meeting on Friday." Being honest protects the system. Hiding something collapses it instantly. Educational summary. Gambling damages the attachment bond by replacing transparency with secrecy, predictability with chaos, and emotional safety with uncertainty. A weekly money snapshot repairs this rupture by turning the unknown, the core wound, into something visible, steady, and verifiable. It shows your children that stability is no longer a promise, but a pattern. And over time, consistent proof rebuilds the sense of safety that compulsive gambling eroded. Proven effectiveness. Research suggests the weekly financial transparency tools aid long-term recovery. Studies consistently shows that behavioral transparency outperforms verbal reassurance when repairing trust after addiction. Some recovering gamblers who implement structured weekly financial visibility over time report higher trust repair rates because consistency replaces doubt with observable reality. Relapse prevention studies also shows lower relapse rates when accountability tools are routine rather than reactive. The brain shifts from impulse-driven secrecy to pattern-based self-regulation. Most importantly, 52 consecutive weeks of tracked behavior creates something words never could: a continuous, interruption-free record that disproves the core wound: Dad can't be trusted with money. At that point, change is no longer claimed or negotiated. It is documented, predictable, and psychologically stabilizing. Tool 2. The Gambling Alternative List. Why this works. Gambling isn't just a bad habit. It's the thing a man reaches for when he's stressed, bored, overwhelmed, or trying to escape his own thoughts. When you suddenly stop gambling without replacing the function it used to serve, you leave a gap, and that gap pulls you straight back into the cycle. The gambling alternative list fills that gap before the craving hits. It gives your brain something ready, immediate, and steady to turn to so you don't end up acting on impulse. Recovery research indicates having pre-planned alternatives lowers relapse risk because the brain doesn't have to negotiate with the craving, it just executes the next option. This is how you stop white-knuckling it. Instead of fighting urges, you replace the behavior with something that serves the same psychological purpose but won't destroy your life. Behavioral substitution and relapse prevention research, plus maintenance strategies in the treatment of addictive behaviors, shows that pre-planned alternative behaviors can reduce relapse risk. Dopamine and reward pathway studies demonstrating that exercise, competition, and novelty activate similar mesolimbic reward systems as gambling. Craving and urge research indicates that urges peak and decline within short time windows when not reinforced by the addictive behavior. How to apply it? Write a list of 10 specific actions, split into the 3 exact roles gambling used to play in your life. 1. Stress relief, when you're overwhelmed. A 20-minute walk through the park. Call your sponsor. 5-minute breathing drill. A cold shower. 2. Excitement/dopamine, when you want the rush. 15-minute high-intensity workout. 1 competitive online chess match. Cook a timed recipe challenge. 3. Distraction. When you're restless or bored, text 3 people to check in with. Clean 1 room top to bottom. Watch 1 pre-selected documentary. Work on a small project, car maintenance, or a home repair. Keep the list visible, on your phone and printed near the door. When a craving hits, never think, never debate, never analyze. Pick 1 item from the category that matches the urge and do it immediately. Research indicates that some cravings peak at around 15 to 20 minutes. If you ride that wave with a replacement behavior, you'll have a better chance of not relapsing. Be mindful, never rely on willpower. Willpower collapses when stress intensifies, but structure doesn't. Never choose complicated alternatives that require setup, materials, or motivation you don't have in the moment. This list must be quick, simple, executable. And never judge yourself for needing the list. The list is not a weakness, it's your insurance policy. Educational summary. Once you quit gambling, the mind is left without the coping mechanism it relied on. The alternative list gives you replacements that hit the same psychological needs without blowing up your life. Proven effectiveness. Research in behavioral substitution shows that cravings weaken fastest when the brain is given pre-decided alternatives, not forced willpower in the moment. People who have used a written alternative action lists indicate fewer relapses because the decision is removed before emotional hijack occurs. Neuroscience findings indicate cravings reduce more quickly when the brain recognizes a familiar, rehearsed pathway. Repetition builds automaticity, lowering stress response intensity during urges. Over time, this process can increase long-term stability by retraining impulse loops into predictable response loops, directly repairing the core wound of self-trust erosion. Tool 3. The accountability check-in. Weekly meeting plus sponsor contact. Why this works? Because addiction grows in silence. When you gamble on your own, nobody sees the pattern, nobody questions the behavior, and nobody holds the line with you. Isolation kept the addiction alive. The accountability check-in kills isolation. Weekly support meetings and regular sponsor contact builds a steady circle around you. People who understand the issue, recognize your patterns, and can stop a bad week turning into a terrible week. Research indicates men who stay connected to structured support stay steady far longer than men who rely on willpower. And for your kids, this takes the pressure off them. They're not supposed to be the ones keeping dad in line. They just get to be kids again. The 12-step and mutual support research indicates higher long-term abstinence rates with regular meeting attendance compared to isolated recovery attempts. Having a sponsor significantly reduces relapse risk and improves accountability. Social support and recovery research indicates that structured community involvement reduces shame, increases resilience, and improves long-term behavioral stability following addiction-related harm. How to apply it? Attend one support meeting each week, same day, same time, and treat it like a non-negotiable job commitment. Go even on the days you feel great. After every meeting, send your child a calm, factual update. Support meeting done. 2 months clean. No speeches, no guilt, just proof. Also add 2 sponsor check-ins per week, Tuesday and Saturday. These must be real conversations, never quick text messages. Share one struggle and one win. This holds the emotional weight, so it doesn't spill over into your child or co-parent relationship. Be mindful. Never skip meetings when you think you're back on track. That's when relapse starts. Never use meetings as bargaining chips. And if you're struggling between meetings, never wait. Call your sponsor. Isolation is the enemy here. Educational summary. Gambling thrives in secrecy. Accountability stops isolation and removes the burden from your children to monitor you. Proven effectiveness. Longitudinal addiction. Recovery studies show that structured accountability dramatically outperforms isolated self-control, particularly in gambling-related family breakdown. Men who attend weekly Gamblers Anonymous meetings while maintaining active sponsor contact demonstrate abstinence at a higher rate than willpower only or private recovery attempts. This effectiveness is not due to moral reinforcement, but neurological and relational repair. Regular meetings interrupt secrecy cycles, while sponsor contact provides immediate external regulation during high-risk emotional states, the precise moments when trust was previously violated. For families harmed by gambling, abstinence alone is not enough. Predictability and continuity are required to heal the core wound. I cannot trust you anymore. Weekly attendance creates a visible rhythm of responsibility, and sponsor accountability ensures lapses are addressed before they become betrayals. Over time, this sustained structure rebuilds credibility, not through explanations, but through uninterrupted behavioral proof. Tool 4. The Safe Tone Doctrine. Why this works. Tone communicates more powerfully than language. Teens feel your tone before they translate your words. When a father's tone remains neutral, warm, and steady across weeks and months, the teen's nervous system relearns. Dad is safe again. Research in emotional processing shows that adolescents detect micro-shifts in tension, bitterness, urgency, or desperation, even when the words look neutral on screen. Tone is the emotional payload. If your tone is stable, you become a safe port. If your tone fluctuates with your mood, you become a weather system they must brace against. Tone discipline is harder than word discipline because tone leaks from your state of mind, but it is also more effective because their body trusts the tone long before they trust your explanations. Multiple areas of research support this. Work on vocal tone and emotional processing indicates that adolescents are highly sensitive to shifts in tone. They don't just hear words. They read emotional signals quickly and often react to those signals first. Neurophysiological models of communication suggest that tone of voice plays a direct role in how safety or threat is perceived in relationships. Before logic is processed, the nervous system is already responding to how something is said. Research on emotional co-regulation shows that children and adolescents rely heavily on parental emotional signals to understand situations. Tone, pacing, and emotional control often carry more weight than the actual words being said. Attachment research consistently indicates that stable, predictable, emotional signaling builds trust, while inconsistent or heightened tone creates uncertainty and defensive responses. How to apply it? Before sending any messages or speaking to your child, I need you to regulate first. If you feel upset, hurt, reactive, or abandoned, pause. Wait 10 minutes. Move around. Do some exercise. Throw some cold water on your face. Talk to your sponsor or a friend. Only send a text when you're calm. When recording voice notes, listen back before sending it. Does your voice feel low, steady, and warm? If tension is audible, redo it later. Your tone must become predictable, regardless of your emotional weather. Be mindful. Do not use a calm tone as a strategy to get a response. If your steadiness is driven by expectation, "If I do this right, they'll reply," it will leak pressure. Tone discipline is about regulation, not outcome control. Also, avoid overcorrecting into flatness or emotional withdrawal. Warmth still matters. Neutral does not mean distant. If you are too activated to hold both calm and warmth, pause and wait. Silence is safer than unstable tone. Educational summary. The teenage core wound when dealing with a previously unstable or emotionally intense parent is hypervigilance. Teens scan every parental interaction for signs of threat, anger, guilt, pressure, neediness, disappointment, or emotional volatility. They do not process the content first. They process the tone and micro cues. If your tone feels unstable, they protect themselves through withdrawal, minimal replies, or total silence. The safe tone doctrine directly targets this wound by stabilizing the predictable emotional signal coming from dad. Tone becomes the safety indicator. Stable tone leads to nervous system relaxes. Contact becomes less threatening. Unstable tone, nervous system escalates. Teen withdraws. The father is teaching the teen's nervous system something crucial. Your silence does not destabilize me. I am safe to interact with. I am not unpredictable anymore. This is what rebuilds attachment threads beneath the surface, even when words are few. Proven effectiveness. Based on clinical observations, recovery programs, and longitudinal reconnection data. Fathers who regulate their tone before all contact, using a 90-minute buffer when activated over time, tend to see an increase in teen comfort levels. Teens often start to describe dad as calmer, less intense, or not intense anymore. Teens can detect emotional leakage within seconds of reading a message, even when the words are neutral. This explains why "hope you're okay" sometimes lands as pressure or guilt. A consistent, warm, calm tone maintained over time begins to reduce defensive scanning. Often, teens no longer read every message looking for hidden demands or emotional traps. Research on parents who tone check before sending, reading the message out loud, or listening back to voice notes, reports maintaining behavioral consistency longer, because tone checking also regulates the father. Tone stability allows for reconnection windows. In multiple long-arc reconnection cases, the first small breakthrough, a short reply, a soft moment at the park, a first call after months, almost always occurs after a multi-month stretch of consistent, emotionally neutral tone. Tone is the bridge that carries every other tool. Tool 5. The amends letter. Kept, not sent. Why this works. When a dad loses daily life with his children because of gambling, the shame becomes corrosive. It eats at his identity and quietly convinces him he doesn't deserve a way back. The amends letter is not written for the ex-partner. It's not written to win anyone back. It's written to clear internal debris so the dad can rebuild as a father from a steadier emotional place. Putting the full truth on paper forces you to face reality without hiding inside excuses. Psychology research shows that unsaid guilt becomes toxic, but written honesty reduces emotional load, restores clarity, and increases future self-regulation. When the page holds what your head has been spinning with, your nervous system can finally slow down. Expressive writing research shows that writing honestly about painful events improves emotional processing, lowers physiological stress, and over time, increases behavioral stability. Structured self-reflection writing that separates harm done from future intention is associated with reduced rumination and shame spirals and stronger follow-through. In recovery settings, written self-accounting and values-consistent self-monitoring practices are repeatedly linked with improved long-term outcomes and stronger internal motivation. How you apply it. Write a private letter you will never send. 3 straight sections. 1. What happened? This is what I did, without excuses. Plain language. No softening, no blaming. just the facts of your behavior. 2. What it cost. This is what it cost me, my family, and my job. Include money, stress, broken routines, broken trust, missed memories, the visible and the invisible. 3. What I'm rebuilding now. This is the father I'm training myself to become. Name the tools, meetings, routines, and the structure you're using. Then seal it. Keep it in a drawer or a safe that only you can access. Every 30 days, take it out, read it once, and update only Section 3, who you are becoming now. Never rewrite the harm sections. Those stay as your accountability baseline. The growth section evolves with you. Be mindful. Never show this letter to your ex or your child. This is not leverage and not a bargaining chip. It's a mirror. It's about self-honesty, never negotiation. If you feel the urge to send it, that's a sign you're still refusing to take accountability and responsibility. Take that urge back to your sponsor, your therapist, or to your journal instead. Educational summary. The core wound here is the crushing emotional weight of, I destroyed my own home. That level of shame makes dads either collapse or overperform. The amends letter lets that shame move from the nervous system onto the page, so the father can think clearly again. When guilt is named specifically, what happened, what it cost, what is now being rebuilt, it stops being a fog and becomes a map. That map is what allows you to show up as a father, instead of staying stuck in the version of yourself that broke everything yesterday. Proven effectiveness. In practice, dads who complete and regularly revisit an amends letter tend to show lower emotional volatility when talking about the past, less all or nothing thinking about themselves, I'm either a bad dad or I'm forgiven. Stronger long-term consistency with meetings, money systems, and parenting routines. The letter doesn't fix the relationship by itself. It fixes the internal stance of the man trying to repair it. Tool 6. Financial guardrails. Why this works. When gambling is the reason a dad no longer lives with his children, money becomes emotionally loaded. Every pound or dollar spent feels like a reminder of what was lost. One unplanned purchase can spiral into, let me make one bet quickly. Financial instability recreates the old chaos, and nothing destabilizes a distant dad faster than chaos. Guardrails create predictability. Predictability is what your child and co-parent now need from you more than speeches or promises. Guardrails mean, even when your emotions are clouded, your money behavior stays on rails. Behavioral economics research on pre-commitment shows that people who lock in decisions in advance, separate accounts, spending limits, external oversight, are far less likely to act impulsively in high-emotion moments. Studies on addiction and money management show that structured financial systems, combined with accountability, over time, reduce relapse driven by shame, panic spending, or chasing losses. How you apply it. Set these 3 guardrails immediately, non-negotiable for the first 12 months. 1. Essentials only account. 1 bank account for rent, utilities, food, child support, and transport. No debit card linked. Standing orders only. This account is out of reach for spontaneous spending. 2. Weekly allowance envelope. Withdraw a fixed amount of cash once a week for day-to-day spending. When the envelope is empty, spending stops. No little extra from the essentials account. 3. Sponsor or friend oversight. Once a week, send a simple breakdown to one trusted person. Income £1,200. Home essentials £600. Allowance £200. Remaining £400. No big explanations, just numbers. As you stabilize, you can refine the system, a saving pot, debt repayment plans. But the guardrail principle stays. You decide one time only, and while in a calm state, how you handle your money. Then you follow that system when emotions are running high. Be mindful. Guardrails are not punishment, they're protection. If you treat them like a prison sentence, you'll look for ways to escape. If you treat them like safety, you'll lean on them when cravings hit. Never graduate early because you feel strong for a few months. The moment you remove guardrails, you're back in the casino mentally, even if you haven't placed a bet yet. Educational summary. A dad living apart from his children must offer one thing above all: consistency. Gambling wrecks consistency and turns money into a weapon that hurts everyone. Financial guardrails rebuild a stable floor beneath you. They reduce the number of decisions you have to make under pressure and prove week after week that the chaos phase is over. Your children don't see the spreadsheets, but they feel the stability that comes from bills being paid, maintenance payments being sent, and meltdowns being avoided. Proven effectiveness. Financial structure research and addiction recovery data consistently shows that, over time, external guardrails reduce relapse more effectively than internal restraint, especially in gambling recovery where money itself is the trigger. Men who use clearly defined financial boundaries, such as separating essential expenses accounts, operating with cash-only discretionary allowances, and submitting to weekly financial oversight, over time report fewer gambling episodes initiated by stress or access temptation. These systems lower cognitive and emotional overload. When bills, court obligations, and child support payments are ring-fenced and automated, anxiety eventually starts to relax because survival needs are no longer negotiable in moments of dysregulation. Reduced stress directly lowers relapse risk, creating a stabilizing feedback loop rather than a pressure spiral. Crucially, these guardrails could be a stepping stone to rebuild trust by restoring predictability. The core wound left by gambling is the belief that financial promises collapse under pressure. Guardrails neutralize that fear by removing choice at the point of vulnerability. From a child's perspective, the effect is simple but profound. Dad always supports me financially, month after month, without reminders, apologies, or explanations. That quiet consistency shows evidence of reliability, forming one of the strongest and least visible repairs to relational trust a father can make. Tool 7. The Sobriety Milestone Marker. Evidence of time. Why this works. Trust debt makes every day feel like you're starting from zero. Children's nervous system doesn't relax because dad has had a good week. They've seen good weeks fall apart before. The sobriety milestone marker creates visible, accumulating proof. 30, 60, 90 days clean. Each block of time is a brick in the new pattern. Recovery Capital research shows that when time clean is tracked and marked, over time both the recovering person and their family start to believe this time might actually be different. For children, seeing dad track his clean days calmly teaches recovery is real, not just a speech. Recovery Capital research consistently suggests that visible markers of progress, GA chips, calendars, tracked streaks, over time, increase commitment to sobriety and strengthen family hope. Goal-setting studies demonstrate that breaking long-term change into 30, 60, and 90-day blocks increases follow-through. Work on the fresh start effect shows temporal landmarks, first month, first quarter, first year, give natural psychological boosts that, when used well, could support sustained change rather than New Year's resolution collapse. How to apply it? Pick a tracking method you can stick with. A wall calendar where you mark each gambling-free day with an X. A sobriety app that shows days, weeks, and months clean. A glass jar where you drop one token in for every week sober. Then, mark every day or every week without fail, no gaps. Every 30 days, acknowledge the milestone quietly. Text kids, 30 days gambling free. GA meeting tonight. At 90 days and 6 months, write a one-page reflection for yourself. What's different now? What you've learned? What you're tightening up? Keep these pages with your amends letter. At the 1-year mark, quietly mark it with your GA group, GA chip, share, or simple acknowledgement. No victory laps on social media. The point isn't celebration. The point is evidence. For you, for them, for the long game. Be mindful. Never use milestones as emotional invoices. I'm 6 months clean. You should trust me now. Time clean is necessary, not sufficient. Trust returns slower than sobriety. Also, if you slip, you don't lie to protect the number. You reset the marker, relapsed again, back to day one, increase support, more meetings, more guardrails, and keep going. The counter is not your identity. It's a tool. Educational summary. Trust debt after gambling makes progress feel invisible. Everyone is braced for the next collapse. The milestone marker gives shape to the invisible. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months clean. Instead of "I'm trying," you have time-stamped evidence that you've been living differently for a while. That doesn't force anyone to trust you, but it gives their nervous system something solid to rest on. Proven effectiveness. Studies on people in recovery who actively track and mark their clean time shows a higher abstinence rate over time compared to those who keep it in their head. Over time, more willingness from family to tentatively re-engage because there's a visible pattern rather than vague claims. And less "I blew it so it's all over" thinking after slipping up, because they can see how much clean time preceded the mistake and recommit to rebuilding it. The milestones can't earn trust on its own, but it makes it easier for others to see the pattern you're trying to build. Tool 8. Child-Appropriate Honesty Script. Why this works. Children feel the distance deeply, but don't have the adult language for it. When a dad is no longer in the home because of gambling, children often fill the gaps with, "Did dad choose gambling over us? Are we responsible for the breakup?" This tool provides steady, simple, non-destructive honesty, the kind that rebuilds safety without overwhelming them. It clears their name, "It wasn't you," and anchors your role, "I'm still your dad," without dragging them into the details of addiction or court. Child development and attachment research shows that consistent, age-appropriate honesty over time can stabilize attachment after parental separation and can eventually reduce anxiety. Studies on children in families with addiction highlight that kids who are given clear, non-graphic explanations, "Dad is getting help for a problem, it's not your job to fix it," over time, show better emotional outcomes than kids left completely in the dark or burdened with adult details. Over time, the nervous system can settle when reality is named simply and repeatedly. How you apply it. Use short, clean statements. No adult details. No shame dumping. No speeches. Examples. "I made some mistakes that made life harder at home. I'm working every day to be a better dad for you. You didn't cause any of this. Even though we live in different houses, I'm still your dad, and I'm not going anywhere." You repeat versions of these lines a few times a year, but not every week. Children need repeated safety, not repeated explanations. You can also add one future steady line. "As I keep working on myself, I want you to feel safe with me, but that's my job, not yours." Be mindful. Never reveal gambling specifics, debts, or adult conflict. Never put them in the middle. "Mom won't let me see you." Never ask them to reassure you, "Do you not miss me?" Your honesty is for their stability, not your relief. If you're depressed or spiraling out of control, that's for your therapist, GA group / or your journal, not your children. Educational summary. Distance creates emotional insecurity for the child and heavy guilt for the father. Without clear, age-appropriate language, kids might assume they caused the breakup or that dad simply stopped caring. Child-appropriate honesty steers between two extremes: lying, "Everything's fine," and oversharing, "Here's my gambling history." It gives the child a simple frame. Dad made mistakes, but he's working on them. Dad's love and role haven't changed, and none of this is our fault. Proven effectiveness. Fathers who use structured honesty scripts over time found fewer meltdown conversations where the child suddenly explodes with, "Is this my fault?" Better long-term openness from the child as they age, because the parent has a track record of telling the truth without overwhelming them. Stronger baseline connection. Over time, the child doesn't have to guess where dad stands. They know he owns his mistakes and is working on them. The script doesn't fix the pain, but it can stop new confusion and guilt-shame from layering on top of what's already there. Tool 9. The Relapse Response Plan. What if I slip up? Why this works. Most recovering addicts think in binary. I'm either sober or I've failed completely. That all-or-nothing thinking makes slips catastrophic. One bet turns into a weekend binge because I've already ruined it, so why not? The relapse response plan is a pre-written protocol for what to do if a slip happens. It turns a potential collapse into a contained event. Relapse prevention research shows people who know exactly what action to take after a slip are far less likely to spiral into full relapse. For your kids, the plan provides security. Even if dad stumbles, there's a system to pull him back up fast. Relapse prevention models suggest that slip-ups turn into full relapse, mainly because of the abstinence violation effect, a mix of shame and all-or-nothing thinking. Over time, pre-planned response protocols can interrupt that pattern by replacing panic with specific actions. Harm reduction and cognitive behavioral work in addiction both emphasize that non-judgmental, immediate action after a relapse can dramatically reduce how far and how fast someone falls. How to apply it? Write out a specific, numbered plan titled, "If I Gamble Again." Keep it somewhere you can't ignore it: phone notes, wallet card, taped inside a cupboard. The plan includes 1. Stop immediately. After the first bet, you stop. No chasing losses. No, just one more. Leave the app, the shop, the situation. 2. Within 1 hour, call your GA sponsor. If they don't answer, leave a detailed voicemail and ring the GA helpline or another recovery contact. You are not allowed to handle this alone. 3. Within 24 hours, attend a GA meeting. If your normal meeting is canceled, find another. Stand up or raise your hand and say exactly what happened. You bring the slip into the light so it can't grow. 4. Within 48 hours, tell your teen. Use a short factual script. I slipped up. I made a bet yesterday. I've told my sponsor, attended a meeting, and I'm resetting my sobriety counter. I'm increasing my support. Extra meetings / tighter guardrails. I'm still committed to recovery. 5. Increase support for 30 days. Move to twice-weekly GA meetings, daily sponsor check-ins for 2 weeks, and tighten money guardrails. Lower allowance, more oversight. 6. Update your urge log. Document what led up to the slip, triggers, time of day, emotion so the pattern is clear and you can adjust your systems. The plan isn't permission to relapse. It's an emergency brake to stop a skid becoming a crash. Be mindful. You must never hide a slip. Hiding is the old pattern. The plan only works if you honor the timelines. Also, never treat the plan as a free pass. If I mess up, I'll just run the plan. If you're using it more than once in 6 months, you need a higher level of care, more intensive treatment, tighter financial lockdown, maybe attend rehab. The plan is for unexpected lapses, not for planned gambling. Educational summary. The core psychological wound here is, if I mess up once, it proves I'm that same man forever. That belief fuels shame and full-blown relapse. The relapse response plan can break that cycle. Instead of, I failed, so it's over, the internal script becomes, I slipped up, so I run the protocol. That shift protects your recovery, your finances, and your child's stability. Proven effectiveness. Recovering addicts with a written relapse response plan over time shows lower progression from single slip to full relapse, faster return to meetings and structure after a relapse, higher trust from partners over time, because even when they stumble, they are honest and proactive instead of disappearing. For a dad, this means your child experiences you as human, not perfect, but safe, because even your mistakes can be handled inside a stable structure. Tool 10. The Future Vision Document. Why this works. When a dad is separated from his family, most of the time he loses his purpose in life. The future now looks non-existent. Every thought of your kids is loaded with fear, court memories, or self-disgust. A man with no future picture becomes unpredictable. He reacts to his feelings instead of rebuilding a solid foundation. The Future Vision Document rebuilds his internal compass. This is not fantasy. It's a one-page, grounded picture of the father he's becoming, the life he's rebuilding, and the stability he wants his children to experience. Future-oriented writing shows that grounded, realistic visioning over time can improve behavioral follow-through and emotional regulation. When people write simply and concretely about who they're becoming, they are more likely to act in line with that picture. In recovery, clear future identity statements, I'm a sober, reliable father, tied to specific behaviors, is strongly associated with sustained change. How you apply it: write one page with 3 clear headings. 1. The father I'm becoming. Describe behaviors, not slogans. Keeps every agreed call. Never gambles. Calm at pickups. Reads with my son. Doesn't badmouth their mom. 2. The life I'm rebuilding. Home, work, health, money. Simple sentences. House is clean and orderly. Rent and bills paid on time. GA weekly. Savings pot slowly growing. 3. The stability I want my children to feel. They know when they'll see me. They never feel responsible for my emotions. They feel safe to relax around me. Then, every month, choose one small action that moves you closer in each category and do it. Fatherhood. Stick to 2 check-in calls a week for 30 days. My life. Pay off one small debt chunk this month. Stability. Confirm weekend plans by Thursday every week this month. At the end of the month, tick what you did and pick the next moves. The document stays one page. You refine it. You don't rewrite your whole life each time. Avoid fantasy visions like, I'll win the lottery, buy a mansion, and get my family back by Christmas. This isn't about recreating the old picture. It's about becoming the kind of man your children can depend on now, whatever the relationship status. If you feel yourself writing a message that would likely start drama, stop, go for a walk, regulate, and come back to reality. Educational summary. Distance can blur your identity. Many separated dads see themselves only as the man who blew it. The future vision document gives that man a different role. Dad's a builder. He's not just repenting. It turns vague hope into a concrete direction: father, life, and stability. When direction is clear, daily discipline has somewhere to land. That discipline is what your children will feel when they re-enter your world. Proven effectiveness. Dads who maintain a one-page future vision and review it monthly, over time tend to stick to routines like meetings, money systems, and contact structures. Make fewer impulsive, regression-based decisions. One last bet, one last blow-up. Report stronger connection with their children over time because their behavior moves in a consistent direction instead of swinging with emotion. The vision never guarantees reconnection, but it can make you the kind of man who can hold reconnection when it arrives. Now, here are 5 resilient practices anyone can use. 1. The daily evidence collection. When trust is broken, a father can't rely on memory or good intentions to prove he's changed. Intentions never arrive. They don't carry weight. And when you're not seeing your children every day, shame can fill in the gaps. This practice gives you something solid. Small actions collected daily that show you're moving forward, not just talking about it. How to apply. Every day, you choose one small, concrete action that shows reliability or presence for your children. Something real. A steady message. A prepared plan for the next visit. A commitment from last week finally done. Write it down in a notebook or notes app. One action, one line. At the end of the week, look back. You'll see proof, not feelings, not hopes, but evidence that you're rebuilding trust in small, repeatable ways. Why this works. Trust is rebuilt through visible, consistent actions, not speeches, not apologies, evidence. A father who gathers proof of his own discipline strengthens internal accountability and stays focused, even at a distance. Over time, these entries show a pattern. You're not trying to convince anyone that you have changed. You're living it, one day at a time. 2. The morning steel frame. A father rebuilding trust cannot let the first emotion of the morning dictate the rest of the day. That early emotional heaviness, the emptiness, the guilt, the silence, can set the whole tone if you let it. These rituals cuts it off before it starts. It's you taking control before it takes control of you. How to apply. Before phone calls, before messages, before you check anything outside yourself, You hit a short, sharp, physical, mental sequence the moment you get up. Movement, breath, a quick cold rinse, a grounding line said out loud. Something that tells your system, I'm awake, I'm here, and I'm in charge of my direction today. Why this works? The first frame of the morning controls the next several hours. When you set that frame yourself, you keep your mind from sliding back into old loops, panic, rumination, self-punishment. A disciplined morning becomes a foundation that steadies the rest of the day. 3. The full impact reflection. Gambling doesn't just create financial damage, it fractures your loved one's emotional reality, stability, and trust in ways men often underestimate. This practice forces you to look at the whole picture, so you stop running from the weight of what happened and start using that awareness to build something better. How to apply. Once every week, I want you to sit down for 30 minutes and map out the full impact of your past gambling. Write or draw it. List the emotional toll on your children, the opportunities you lost, the stress you carried, the structure that fell apart, the moments you missed. Include what's visible and what isn't. The small ones count just as much. Sit with it honestly. No defending, no excuses. Why this works? Repair starts with full acknowledgement, not selective memory. When you understand the entire impact, not just a particular part, you create the internal seriousness that fuels real, lasting change. This reflection turns guilt into clarity, and clarity into disciplined, consistent repair. Resilient Practice 4. The Silent Skill Investment. Gambling devoured your attention. This practice redirects that same energy towards slow, steady identity building, something that helps you grow instead of hollowing you out. How to apply. Choose one skill you'll build quietly over the next year. No announcements, no showing off, no performing. Learn it slowly, practice it weekly. Let the progress be private. Mastery grows in the background while your life stabilizes in the foreground. Why this works? Skill building restores personal value. It gives you something solid to stand on, something earned. When you grow, your future becomes worth protecting. Kids feel that before they ever hear it. A father who's redeveloping himself, even quietly, over time, radiates stability long before the relationship is repaired. Resilient Practice 5. The 6-month trajectory check. Trust isn't rebuilt in moments, it's rebuilt in the long arc. A father can feel like he's improving day to day, but without checking his direction, old habits can slip back in quietly. This practice forces you to step back and look at the bigger picture. How to apply. Every Sunday, I want you to project yourself 6 months ahead. Ask, if I stay exactly on this path, where will things be with my children? Be straight with yourself. Map what real stability would require. Routines, actions, consistency. If you see issues and gaps, adjust the next week intentionally. Make small steps, but specific ones. Why this works? Trust grows when you have a structural routine pattern, not vague promises. By reviewing your trajectory, you make sure your daily actions feed into a stable, reliable future, not a short burst of effort that eventually fades away. This can protect you from slipping into old rhythms and keeps you aligned with the father you're working to become. Now, here's a closing drill any dad can use. The weekly proof walk. Purpose. To turn your weekly actions into physical proof that progress is being built through consistency, not emotion. Setup. Time. Sunday evening. Duration. 20 to 30 minutes. The drill is completed in short phases during the walk. Location. Quiet route. Conditions. Solo. No headphones. No distractions. Phase 1. Evidence collection. Early in the walk. After a few minutes of walking, say out loud, name 3 concrete actions you completed this week. Keep them simple, real, specific. Pause. Breathe once. These are proof, not perfect, but proof. Then continue walking in silence. Phase 2. Repair scan, mid-walk. Name 1 miss from the week, calmly. No overthinking, no judgment. Then name 1 clear repair. 1 miss, 1 repair. The pattern holds. Then continue walking. Phase 3, future anchor, towards the end of the walk. Name one micro commitment for next week. Something small, repeatable, clear. Say it 3 times. Then finish the walk. Final line, at home. Stand still, hand on chest. Say it once. 1 week handled properly. That's how this rebuilds. And that's it for tonight, guys. Remember, fellas, trust doesn't return because you apologize repeatedly. It returns because you become reliable again. Your children aren't listening to your excuses. They're watching your pattern. Keep your transparency. Keep your meetings. Keep your evidence. Keep your pace steady. Trust rebuilds in seasons, never in moments. Stay steady, and I'll see you on the next Toolbox, Episode 3. But remember, once a dad, always a dad. This is support content only. This is not gambling advice, medical advice, addiction advice, or mental health advice. You must contact your local emergency services or a mental health support worker if you need assistance.